Born of ancient magic, he is the ultimate superhero with powers drawn from the very planet and creatures he was created to protect. The combination of earth, fire, water, wind, and heart given form, fighting back against man-made forces that endanger us all. He is an unsubtle metaphor for what could be achieved if a team works together to find solutions for problems that, in the end, we will all be held accountable for. Hi, I'm Dan Larson, and this is the history of Captain Planet. This episode of Toy Galaxy is brought to you by Squarespace. From websites and online stores to marketing tools and analytics, Squarespace is the all-in-one platform to build a beautiful online presence and run your business. Toy Galaxy is all about telling stories about monsters, robots, aliens, superheroes, pop culture, collecting stuff. Squarespace empowers you to tell the story of your collection and your experience as a collector. Save yourself the time and hassle. Leave the visual design of your site to Squarespace's user-friendly, easy-to-customize templates. Write that blog. You've got ideas about how things should work. Workshop those ideas with the help of a community built around your brand and your voice. For whatever you're collecting, get organized, get archived, get a domain name, and declare your place in the online collecting community. Already have a domain? It's simple to set up or transfer your domain with Squarespace. Bring it over and direct all that traffic you're creating online into one place. Get the exposure to be the next big thing. It's never been easier to sell products or services online. Squarespace allows you to easily manage your products, orders, and inventory. Save the time for making stuff. Save your money for buying stuff. Head to squarespace.com for a free trial, and when you're ready to launch, go to squarespace.com/toygalaxy to save 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain. Captain Planet is the title character featured in the animated series Captain Planet and the Planeteers and its sequel/continuation, The New Adventures of Captain Planet. The two series ran a total of 113 episodes from 1990 to 1996, and while they were produced by two different studios, the core themes of conservation, preservation, and education were consistent throughout. Captain Planet's goal was to inspire a generation of children to be the heroes that will save the world. Captain Planet and the Planeteers was created by Ted Turner, Barbara Pyle, and Nick Boxer. Ted Turner is the Turner in Turner Broadcasting System, aka TBS. It was his idea to create an original series for kids as a vehicle to educate and inform them about the harm being done to the planet and motivate them to take action to protect it. Ted came up with the name Captain Planet and then handed the rest of the production over to Barbara Pyle. Barbara Pyle had been working for Ted Turner as the Vice President of Environmental Policy at TBS. For nearly 20 years, she positioned the entirety of TBS as the environmental network. Whether it was through the creation of Turner Environment Division or her work initiating corporate social responsibility policies, her efforts reshaped TBS with respect to its energy efficiency and overall impact on the planet.
The reason we've made this cartoon for children is because we don't want to borrow the land from the children anymore. We have to take care of the land for the children. Now let me tell you what Planeteers are. Planeteers are people who love each other. They're people who love the planet. They're people who love the plants and animals on the planet. And because they love the plants and animals on the planet, they take care of the plants and animals on the planet.
During this time, Pyle traveled the world producing, filming, reporting on the real impact that environmental issues were having on regular, everyday people. With Ted Turner's blessing, with Ted Turner's order to create an educational environmental superhero, Pyle assembled a team and got to work. Nick Boxer was a producer who had worked with Barbara on several of her previous projects centered on the environment. It was he who would develop the world of Captain Planet, write the lyrics for the theme song, as well as the pilot episode and a majority of the episodes for the series. He was involved in one way or another on every episode of the series, and it's his face that was used as the basis for Captain Planet himself. Captain Planet is the embodiment of 5 separate powers manifested Voltron style in a single superpowered being. He is the creation of Earth spirit Gaia as a means to push back against the damage being done by the humans whose welfare she genuinely cares about, while also wishing we would take a hint and reform our deadly ways, or else. In order to work with the humans to try to make some lasting change, Gaia chooses 5 young people from around the world to act as a team to find solutions to the environmental problems they are collectively facing. Known as the Planeteers, each member is entrusted with a ring that enables them to wield a specific power. Kwame from Ghana is the unofficial leader of the group and commands the power of Earth. Wheeler from the United States is the leap into action hothead and commands the power of fire. Linka, initially from the Soviet Union, later retconned as hailing from Eastern Europe, is the quick thinker utilizing the power of wind. Guy from Thailand harnesses the power of water, and Ma Ti from Brazil, the youngest member of the group, holds everything together with the power of heart. While Captain Planet is the face of the brand, the title character, it is the Planeteers who are the actual heroes. Early in the production, Barbara Pyle saw that the development team was moving in the predictable direction of creating a standard issue superhero with rippling muscles and chiseled good looks, no offense to Nick Boxer. The Planeteers were a conscious effort by her to recenter the power on the team as opposed to a single being. It was an attempt to allow the viewers to identify with the message of teamwork more than summoning a superhero to save them from that day's problem, even if that, basically, is what happens most of the time. Captain Planet's catchphrase, "The power is yours," evokes that of fellow environmentalist Smokey the Bear, "Only you can prevent forest fires." It is both a call to action and a reminder that they are just cartoon characters who can't really do anything. They can teach, but in the end, you are the one who has to act. It's an effective and powerful message to kids who suddenly find themselves cast in the role of hero. The villains on the show were deliberately exaggerated caricatures of corporate executives and the people that work for industries that depend on fossil fuels for profit. Is it fair to characterize anyone who cuts a tree down instead of planting one as a monster out to murder the planet who must be stopped at all costs? Does it undermine the real work that actually has to be done in order to make things out of wood or power a city? No, it's not fair. And yes, to a degree, it does undermine the real work that needs to be done to find a way for industries that must exist to do what they do in a manner that ensures the safety and well-being of the environment for future generations. No one likes to be characterized as an ugly, pig-faced monster who relishes in the sight of oil-covered dolphins, but when it comes to positioning forces that are harming the planet, Pyle and her team made conscious decisions to make sure that the message reaching kids was that of taking action to protect the planet as opposed to treating oil refining with a gentle touch.
Go planet! All we need is an eco-dweeb to trap my toxic sludge dump. I'll get one with this scuttle cup. Oh no! I need Captain Planet! I'll save you, Gee. You missed me, scum. Yuck. I guess we made a mess out of their plans.
The power is yours! Free Duke Nukem or Verminous Skunk with the purchase of any Captain Planet toy from Tiger. Details at participating stores.
Barbara Pyle specifically stated that they had to make the villains so over the top that children wouldn't recognize their parents as, potentially, the kinds of people who were not acting responsibly. And not for nothing, but those villains were designed with the intent to scare them, to deter them from becoming that kind of unfeeling, ugly character on the outside, on the inside. Captain Planet unflinchingly took on issues like climate change, deforestation, nuclear war, toxic dumping, acid rain, puppy mills, and a whole slew of other byproducts of the world that we lived in then and still live in now. It showed to a degree the real effects of not confronting these issues, but it also showed a team working together to make the world a better place for everyone. The series featured an all-star cast including names like LeVar Burton, Whoopi Goldberg, Jeff Goldblum, Meg Ryan, Tim Curry, Martin Sheen, Neil Patrick Harris, Elizabeth Taylor, Vanna White, and Sting. That kind of talent that is usually reserved for big-budget adaptations of cartoons. Their presence helped give the production additional credibility and legitimacy. Seasons 1 through 3, Captain Planet and the Planeteers, were produced by Deke Animation. Seasons 4 through 6, The New Adventures of Captain Planet, were produced by Hanna-Barbera. There's a slight difference in the animation style and the music and some of the voice casting, but the overall tone, themes, and the mission of the show is consistent from episode 1 to episode 113. During the 6-year run on television, Captain Planet regularly placed at the top of the Nielsen ratings and was viewed by people all over the world. Marvel Comics published a 12-issue miniseries that was intended to tie into the cartoon series, but ultimately exists outside the continuity proper, and of course, it's not part of the Marvel Universe either. That said, as long as the Infinity Stones exist, anything is possible. Captain Planet spun off into video games across various platforms. Unfortunately, the version developed for the Nintendo Entertainment System, the highest profile system it could have been on at the time, was too underwhelming to merit any significant exposure or future appearances on the NES. A Sega version would see limited release in Europe and Australia. There were action figures produced by Tiger Toys, but it was hard for the Captain to compete when they weren't playing with the same rules as their competitors. In keeping with the themes of the show, licensors had to adhere to environmentally sound policies, including producing their products in a sustainable manner and the minimal use of packaging. On top of that, 10% of all profits would go to charity. That charity was the Captain Planet Foundation, created in 1990, the same year the show began. The cartoon was created to educate, but the mission was always to make real change in the world. Through the foundation, profits from the sale of merchandise related to the cartoon could be directed into programs that would educate kids about the very real issues that Captain Planet and the Planeteers were dealing with on the show. While the show ended its initial run on television in 1996, it continued to be featured in syndication for years after, before being retired by TBS. It received a plethora of awards and recognition for its environmental and educational efforts. The Captain Planet Foundation, on the other hand, is still active in fighting for change today. They have not only raised awareness about environmental issues, but also millions of dollars to educate the leaders of the future. Through programs like Project Learning Garden, Project Hero, and the CPF Institute, the Captain Planet Foundation is helping people live out the mission of Captain Planet to harness the power to make a difference. Every once in a while, a rumor will pop up about a Captain Planet feature film being in production. This time, it seems like it's actually happening. In September of 2018, Glenn Powell stated in an interview with The Hollywood Reporter that he was currently working on the screenplay for the cinematic adaptation of Captain Planet. In development at Leonardo DiCaprio's Appian Way Productions, Glenn states that it can be done and that it's a concept that may require a unique approach. In his words, quote, "They've tried to make it into a superhero movie before, but they kind of did like an earnest take, and ours is way more subversive and fun and like dark and irreverent," end quote. Time will tell what any of that means. Captain Planet was a successful cartoon series both in terms of ratings and the ability to make education entertaining and profitable. Its true legacy is the education and empowerment of a generation of kids, as well as the programs that are still being backed today on the strength of the original mission set forth by Ted Turner and Barbara Pyle.
One of the fundamental messages, and it's probably more subtle than you would ordinarily be able to pick up on, that exists in Captain Planet is that there are these 5 kids that represent different elements of the Earth, and that and they are out there fighting ecological villains. But whenever they come into a situation that is larger than they feel like they can handle, they pool their resources. They get together and they create this synthesis being Captain Planet that comes in, and he's really the superhero. So it's not, I'm not a superhero. It's like I have my own individual contribution, and when I put that together with his and with hers, then we have something that is larger than myself.
But make no mistake, when it comes to Captain Planet, the villains in the series aren't the only villains in this series. Pollution itself, the intentional destruction of the planet by anyone, is the villain. Captain Planet may be summoned by humans in the cartoon, but ultimately he fights for the planet. After all, that's his name. Thank you very much for watching. Please hit like, hit subscribe if you're not already a subscriber. Thank you very much to those of you who already are. If you're in the position to help the channel grow, please visit our Patreon at patreon.com/toygalaxy. Share this video and let us know in the comments down below the Toy Galaxy branded merchandise if you watched Captain Planet. And if so, were you able to pick up on the themes of environmentalism, conservation, stop polluting, dolphins can't live in oil, without trees there is no oxygen, we need that? Or was it too subtle?
Cut.